Hey, welcome guys. In this video I'm doing a review of the Xiaomi Mi Box 4K HDR media player. So we'll start with the controller. It's nothing special here. It's not very comfortable because it has no real curve at the back to accent your hand shape and size, but it's not that bad either. It's just like a very basic, simple design. It just does the job it's meant to. It uses Bluetooth, so there's no issue of blocking line of sight, thankfully. There is also an optional gaming controller available from Xiaomi, but I just don't recommend it because this isn't great as a gaming console. Now, in terms of power consumption, it's unknown how much power this media player consumes because it's not listed anywhere. But it is running Android TV, which is designed to always be on in standby mode, so it never really turns off. It's just ready for your commands to be put in instantly. For the power cord, it's measuring at 3 feet long, but I am not a fan of how the power brick takes up multiple spots on a power bar, which is rather unfortunate. All sides have nothing except for the back, which has a 3.5mm output for headphones, just for an example, HDMI 2.0A port, input for power, and of course a USB port. Sadly, there's no Ethernet port despite even the Google Chromecast Ultra having one at a similar price point, which is able to accomplish it by connecting Ethernet to the power brick. The size is relatively small as it fits pretty much just in my hand, as you can see. This is great to keep tucked away in your home media setup. The minimal design helps too. It's just a simple black finish, which kind of makes it subtle and even that much easier to hide in, say, your media cabinet. So for the remaining specs, the processor is a Cortex-A53 and the GPU is a Mali 450 with 2 gigs of RAM inside, as well as 8 gigs of internal storage. Now you can expand that storage by connecting an external drive to the USB port at the back. Now this media player is advertised as running 4K files in HDR at 60 frames a second. However, I can't really seem to get it to work properly when playing 4K. I'll explain a little more of those limitations later on, but in terms of just general playback for local media files connected to the USB storage, for example, it can play H.264 compressed files, especially in 1080p. It works fantastic. Even if files are compressed in H.265, it seems to struggle quite a bit. In terms of audio, it does support DTS 2.0 and digital output, as well as Dolby Digital Plus, and it does support 7 channels. The primary operating system is Android TV, and in terms of additional connectivity, it does support 802.11 and AC, as well as Bluetooth 4.0. So this is fully up to date as of June 2018, and this is the main interface of the Android TV that comes with this device. So what you guys are seeing at the top is recommended content based on what Android TV thinks you'll want. A lot of it is not relevant to me. This tends to be wrong to what I think it might be interesting on a lot of Android TV devices. But going up to the top, one of the things I noticed is that the voice search doesn't work properly. It doesn't matter if I'm using Google Assistant or a YouTube voice search to search for a YouTube video, for example. So let's give it a sample. So the microphone is meant to be on and always listening on the remote control, so let's give it a try. Show me some action movies. Hello? Is this thing listening? And as you can see, instead what it did was search for slow when I said hello the second time. So the voice listening commands is just absolutely horrible and horrendous on this remote control. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So the top content, as I mentioned, is recommended content. A little bit low is Xiaomi Box recommended apps, which is only 2 for some reason. Opening up Netflix, the speed is too bad. So as you can see, it's almost instant because this device is always on. It's always on standby mode, so it's ready to boot up back into apps that you've used. Shifting down a little bit more, it comes with some pre-installed apps like the Google Play Media apps, other ones like YouTube, and your other apps you download from the Google Play Store will be showing up on that same list over there. So the YouTube app uses the same generic interface as any other media player. Nothing special here. I find that the app is just okay, nothing too special. But yes, you can get 4K playback on here as well. So let's take a quick sample. So what I'm playing right now is a 4K video from my own YouTube channel. It works perfectly fine. When you're playing a video, the speed performance is pretty good considering how low powered and specs this media player is. It can handle 4K content just fine. Looks pretty great. I'm actually surprised at how it performs 4K playback on such a cheap media player. And of course the interface, just again, is just pretty generic YouTube app as you would expect from any YouTube app on a media player. Now, there's one thing I want to mention, very important, before we continue on any further. So I have a 4K TV and a 4K HDMI wire connected that can handle high-speed 4K content, and it was defaulted to 720p, the media player itself. I had to go to settings and manually change it here under display for some reason under screen resolution. This is really weird. This is the only Android media player that's ever done this to me before, but I had to change this here, and then I was able to get the full 4K great quality playback. So again, we do have some other apps here available. So I have Plex. And what it's doing is connecting to my Android server, which has a whole bunch of content on it. It connects, plays just fine. I'm not going to play any content from here because a lot of it's personal, for example, and some of it's due to YouTube copyright rules if I were to stream something from the news broadcasting, for example. But the Plex app does work great. Now, the problem with this Android interface is that connecting a external storage for non-tech savvy people takes a bit of a learning curve. So I downloaded and installed VLC Media Player to play content from my external drive. So it does not handle files that are 4K almost at all. It doesn't matter if they're H.264 compression or H.265 compression, they just do a horrible job. So this is the original media file for my YouTube review of the Dell XPS 13. So this is on the USB stick right now, and it doesn't broadcast anything. I get audio, but if I try to fast forward later on, the audio cuts off and that's it. So I have no audio, no picture. It seems to handle 4K horribly on local content, and also does a pretty terrible job of handling 4K content from your home media server through Plex as well. So 4K from Netflix and YouTube works fine. 4K from your home media network or any file from your network, don't expect it to play that well. Its performance is rather poor. And lastly, I want to show you guys Hulu, because that's one of the most popular media player apps available right now. Again, the Hulu app for Android TV is just very generic. You have your content like TV shows, movies, and whatnot, and of course your watch list down here. Nothing special here. When it comes to opening a video and playing it, it plays in HD, awesome quality, and it's pretty snappy and fast performance. Again, surprising considering how cheap this media player is. So this does support Google Casting. So for example, if you have Netflix or Hulu or any other app that supports Google Casting, it will project whatever is being broadcasted. So in this instance, I'm just mirroring my cell phone entirely. So if I were to open the camera app, for example, you will see kind of like an Inception type of view. If I were to rotate the screen, it of course will rotate the screen on the Mi Box as well. So this is a pretty tough media player to rank off because it's just so cheap, but it doesn't work as advertised. The voice control is horrible, and sometimes it doesn't work at all when it comes to the Google Voice searching, for example. And the other thing about missing the Ethernet connectivity is a big problem, especially if you have 4K files stored locally in your network. You know, you need the extra speed, but it can't handle 4K properly and Ethernet. So if you're looking for a 1080p media player, I would recommend this definitely. But in terms of the 4K functionality, better off looking somewhere else. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Be sure to check out my social links in the video description. Hit that like button, it does help. Subscribe, and thanks for watching.